So, if any company holds your data, you literally have the legal right to ask them what they hold. Anyway, let's do the Discord stuff before I forget. I'm probably gonna GG in about 30 minutes. How many spots should I do? All right, log into Discord and get ready to click on the link like always. All right, 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The next big level? No, the next big level was 123. After that is 138. So this chart we did, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago whenever we were here. So, sorry, no, 2 3 years ago, like in May 2025. So, yeah, nothing's really changed on that one. Which one was the one that I did? Is it in Coinbase? Yeah, this was from a while ago. From April. Yeah, that was a while ago. See if it regains it. I did like 15 spots. So it should be filled. Last time I did like 10, I think. Yeah. So currently there's like 300 members, 290 members. So I wanna keep it around that range, around 300, less than 300. All right. Anyway, first BT hit 0.7. Blah blah blah. Same old. Oh, BLX. Yeah, probably. Like Brave, New. It doesn't exist anymore. It seems. Like it's called like Brave New Coin or something, isn't it? I mean, this is when I used to have green lines. So this is from like probably like 2021 or 2022. I did this chart. I still have the red line here, so it's at least from here or here. Just then I haven't really done anything on it. So trend start, trend start, trend start, and then trend start here again. So for us to lose the trend, we would have to lose the higher low of the trend, which is that range. And if we do, untested range. And if we lose that, ooh, it's very fucked. Yeah, I mean that's obviously if we break like the high sequence is like the monthly, which is the here and here. Funny, and most people will not buy that. Of course not. I had to like do I remember like how many times I had to say, you know, I'm buying Bitcoin here at like when it was like at 16, 17 because and remember like when we were to here, I was like same thing again. Same thing happens every time, dude. Now, doesn't mean that, you know, if it goes lower we don't buy it. It's just that's just what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to hold. Doesn't mean that it can't go lower. But the issue is people want a guarantee. They want a guarantee that it can't go lower. There's no such thing. There's no such thing in the market. Finally, couples prophecy will come true. I don't know what that means. Is that like a Twitter thing? Lemonade. Seems like I traded it a long, long time ago. And by traded it, I mean say get the fuck out of this thing. And that was in like it still has it has the green line, so this is before 2022 at least. I used to use green lines as things back then. Yeah, 140 where you're supposed to get the fuck out. Yeah, this one. I didn't. I it went. Well, we did like a 90% down from there. Damn. So this is where you're supposed to get the fuck out. Wow. He didn't even hit that level, dude. He just lost this, retested it, and then just died. Yeah. Lost, retested, and just died. Oof. Interesting. Alright, anyway. Now it is gaining. It is holding. Yeah. What are you looking to do on this relax house? Like, what are you trying to do on this? Do you already have a trade? Are you trying to get a trade? What are you trying to do? Why is Twitch like not giving me some of the messages? He keeps saying reconnecting to the chat room. I'm probably, I think, missing like 30% of the people's messages. Oh, excuse me. I guess Relaxed House is not here. All right, we'll move on. Mac Canyon. Yeah, pretty much. That seems good, dude. But it should go up all now. Bless you. Oh, thanks. Up until we lose this. Oh, on Friday, the trade was this long, which we took, and then it hit all the targets, and now we're just chilling. Obviously, this is a green box. Love to hold. Oh yeah, I looked at it on Friday. Yeah. It did do a little pop and retested the failure, which is here, and it just died. 14, yeah, 14, 15%. VIX soon. VIX coming down. Is it coming down more? Nah, not yet. Looking for a green box, bro. Only BMW could maybe survive. Yeah, the auto industry in Europe is, from a stock point of view, yeah. Hey, Urban. So, yeah, so Friday long looking good. Re-added here. Current looking good. So LMND. Oh, you got in at 35. 35. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's not too bad. We're losing levels. Still have stop loss in profit and just chill. If your entry is at 35, we're definitely losing levels. So stop loss in profit and just chill. If it was a little bit lower, you could fiddle around a little bit, try to get some refills and blah blah blah. But this is literally very close to the invalidation which is here. So for this trade anyway. If that was your trade, then yeah, it is what it is. I'm assuming you at least took 1 or 2 PTs, right? So if you did, then you're in profit. So stop loss in profit and just chill. No refills for you at this stage. That's my 2 cents on it. Take it or leave it. Right, we hit the 0.7, so that's fine. The first PT hit on that long from today. Pre-market done. Yeah, the last trade was a long, I believe, on the NQ. So since then, I haven't really obviously looked at it because, you know, weekend. I looked at it yesterday, but yesterday was pretty interesting. It was like there. Since then, I haven't really looked at it. Okay. United Health. Didn't I already look at this? Yeah, I'm still looking for it to regain that level, dude. I know there's an earnings or whatever, but that's not really relevant to me. I'm still looking for it to regain that level before I take the trade. Because last time it was a good trade, it worked out for a little bit and then just died. So it's still profitable. I think it was like an average, I think like 8%. I think I got 7 or 8% in average. So it wasn't like bad or whatever. You know, 7 or 8% in the stock is pretty good, but it's like So I'm gonna wait until it regains that. If it does, I'll take it. I'll take it. New low, yeah. I mean, whatever it does, all I'm looking for is a regain of that level on the 4 hour at least. I already have a conditional order already. All my conditional order is 4 hour close, 4 hour C above this range. The price might be slightly different in this versus my broker, but yeah, pretty much like this low here, close above on the 4 hour. And if it does open up a position, pretty much this. So this short was the last one. By the way, this wasn't when we were here. We were here. This arrow was when we were here, and this is when the Trump panic stuff started happening, and then But since then, it's just been net long. Nothing's really changed. Pretty much on all the stocks. The NQ long, the ES long, and the footy long. All three of them looking good on the high time frames. I don't have any of these longs left over, obviously. They've already expired, but overall, it's like a 7,000 points. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And a lot of people trade the CFDs and stuff like that as well, your ETFs and all that stuff. So that's when that was. If you missed it, you can go back and check the VODs on it. April. Will April VODs be available? I think it's like 3 months, right? You can watch the VODs. 2 months? I don't know. Which one is the one I looked at? This one? I did a naked shot. I don't know which one I did it on though. It's not something I look at normally, so I don't know. 60 days? Oh, it's 60 days. Okay. Thank you. So. Because it's literally the same long on all these stocks. We talked about it on that day, right? And then it was a refill opportunity like a week after that as well. So it's the same trade on all these stocks. Same day. No, maybe not all these stocks. Yeah, actually, no. In all these stocks. Except this one is not doing as well. But everything else, banging out. Yeah, pretty much all of them. It was like 9 or 10th of April. Anyway, it doesn't matter now, though. All right. Red box hit again. So profit taken. I'm happy with that. I think that's my scalp done for the day. $1.72% on the day. So that's a pretty good day. Because I also took profits on some of that long as well from all in short ETH. Thank me later. I mean, I don't disagree with the idea of short ETH, but I'm gonna wait for it to lose that level before I do it. How would you feel about a short one of these Zoro? I don't know, dude. Like, are you like dredging up some like coins that's iffy and then going, oh, it's just short? Like, I don't know, man. Let's have a look. I'm not looking at all of them. Zorize it. I'll look at one of these. Um, yeah, I mean, it is losing levels. Yeah, there's untested ranges. It's losing levels. So, would it be surprising for it to come down here, retest that level? No, not really. So if you're doing, if all the others also look something similar to this, um, pick two and take a short. Don't like take a short on everything. That's just dumb. Do it within the risk parameters. Yeah, it's This one seems just like a little pump and dump coin. Um, is there a level of accumulation happening here? Yeah, yeah. Um, it's a little bit of a YOLO trade, but is there some accumulation happening at the low ranges here? Yeah, definitely. Is it something you would risk everything for? Of course not. It is a very YOLO trade, dude. But I do see what you're seeing. Yeah, it is nice, a little accumulation, flattening down at the low zones. But it could like it could get fucked very quickly, very easily. You know. That's why I say it's a very YOLO trade. Icon doesn't officially exist yet. It's probably a scam. Probably. I don't know the thing behind it, whatever it is, but like I said, very YOLO trade. Do it at your own risk. Bro, don't buy a coin at all time low when BTC at all time high. That's not. I mean, a lot of these coins have nothing necessarily to do with Bitcoin. They have more to do with Ethereum than Bitcoin, or to do with like Solana or something. I've known people who have become homeless, if that's what you mean by like losing everything. They became homeless because they borrowed from the bank to trade. Um, they owed money to the exchange. They borrowed from the exchange to trade as well. Um, and they had to liquidate some of their assets and yeah, yeah. Sad, sad life. So not everyone from there is profitable in the end. No, 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 of course not. It's not like people who are professional or whatever are not human beings. They still have impulse control issues. They still have real life stuff. Obviously, yeah, greed, ego, a lot of things. Right. GBP, JPY. Yep. Um, I remember you guys. No, I bought some yen here. And then I sold majority of it for back to GBP. I'm gonna buy some more if it hits the red box again. I need some for some stuff anyway, so the GBP USD. Where's the this one? Yeah, this one. So we hit the red box on the GBP USD. So I did sell. I did convert a decent amount of my GBP um into USD. I bought some USD, should I say? Um, but yeah, let's see how it goes. Um, yeah. I needed some USD. By the way, when I say USD, I mean Tether. Okay. So what I did was when we were here and when we were here, more importantly, when we were here, what was the last time? This is years ago. So that was the last time I had a lot of my money in USDT because that's how I got paid, right? Most of my trades pays out in USDT or USDC or whatever, right? Some USD variable, right? Some USD connected shitcoin. Stablecoin. But obviously I live in the UK, so I need to convert that to GBP anyway. Right? No, I don't need to, but to liquidate into a bank account, I need to, right? So what I did was I pretty much liquidated a lot of it around that time, and I bought back a big chunk of it back into USDT, except except the ones that I obviously withdrew into my bank account, right? Obviously, whatever that was just left there, not doing anything, just floating. I did that I think last week. We'll see how it goes. The reason I did that was we lost the weekly here. So as soon as it did that, I did that. Do you tax harvest at the end of the year? What do you mean by that? Realize you're losing position and then buying them back at the new year. No, I don't. Yeah. So okay, I don't understand. Yeah, yeah. No, I know what it is and I know why people do it and I understand the reason and the rationale behind it. Even though it's like, I don't do that. I don't know. I don't feel the need to do that because I make money both directions. If I feel like some assets are depreciating in value because of certain things, I'll just short it. Like right. If some things are appreciating in value comparatively to the other position, I would generally have a hedge parameter of some kind, so I'm fine, right? Because I tend to be hedged um, on scenarios anyway. Right? Mostly just delay the tax anyways. In the end, the sum will be the same. Yes, you could, but the thing is, it will catch up because you're doing right. It's just like you will still need to catch up. It will maybe give you some breathing room after a while or whatever, but I don't really have the need for a breathing room of any kind because like it doesn't really matter to me. But I understand the rationale and I understand the reasoning behind why people do it. I get it. Is it useful for me personally? No. Is it something that I can use or I do use? No. Is it something that I could use later down the line where you know things happen and maybe sure because you're taxed on profits on that year. If your profits are not the same next year, it won't be the same. No, you're taxed on rolling years. It's not just one tax year, and if things change between that, it's not the second tax year. It's rolling tax years. So if you have losses on previous years, you can include that in the next one as well. If you overpaid or underpaid, you'd include that in the second one as well. Maybe I didn't understand what you're saying, but yeah, it's not like air gapped. It's obviously rolling. Oh, okay, okay, nice. Yeah. Personally, I'm not really holding on to a position that I'm at a loss for, over like a year or something like that. That's ridiculous. Now, the only way that is I'm doing that is if I've got a much heavier hedge on the other direction. That way I can afford to do that, right? So let's say, um, during the bear market, whatever, right? Let's say, doing this move down, um, we had longs, and then the market shifted, and I have 10 times heavier short size because all of my longs got stopped out in profit, let's say, right, in this wick. So my shorts were 10 times heavier. So now what I have is I have, let's say I also took longs from here as well as here, and I took a long here as well, let's say. I would never do that, but let's say I did. So now I have, let's say, 2 or 3 positions which are underwater, right? Let's say in prices here, right? But more than that, I have shorts which are 5 or 6 times heavier than all the longs combined together. So I'm net short. That's what I would generally do in these sort of scenarios anyway. So it's like I said, that's what I mean by it's not something. It's a theoretical understanding for me personally. I don't necessarily use that for anything except, let's say, now this is specifically for trading. Let's talk about from like investment point of view, right? You can sort of do that for investment. The issue is, if you liquidate, you liquidate. It's not as it's very hard to get back into that saddle after you liquidate an asset, comparatively to, let's say, you just sold a stock or a coin, right? You're gonna do, you're gonna sell your house and then just, hope for a dip and then just buy back in next year, and it's like 10 times hassle, right? So the only way you can probably do that effectively is on something where you can get in, get out very quickly. Generally, stocks, shares, bonds, digital assets, basically, right? Not tangible assets. So, but on digital assets, you can very easily just hedge rather than playing that game. Now, if it doesn't work out and you're still underwater, you can now finally, I guess, use that metric. But yeah. It's a thing that works with that I don't even want to say extremely well. It doesn't work extremely well even in theory. It could work in theory, but it's not as effective as people think in practical. Because most places they will ask for your whole portfolio You will have to show your whole portfolio. You can't just say, "Oh, this is only the profit stuff. This is unprofitable stuff." And they'll ask you, or they'll say, "What is your realized profits?" Right? Because that's the only thing you can tax. You can't tax unrealized profits. But what they can also do is, in certain cases, like for example in the UK, you pay more tax. Right? There's two times you pay tax in the UK. You pay tax around February time if you're doing like self-assessment and stuff like that, and you pay another tax around June time. July, I think. Right? July time, which is the next time, was the next lump sum you trade. The July tax is the tax that you pay for next year, right? Because what the HMRC looks at your history, right? How much profits you made, and they'll use a certain percentage of the tax that you paid, and they'll ask you to pay that on the front end of the year, which is in July. So you pay a little bit extra tax. And let's say next year, you don't make as much as last year. Let's say last year you made 1 million profit. The next year, let's say the next tax year, you only make 500k profit. So what the HMRC will do this time is they'll pay back the difference, what they've overcharged for the previous year. So what that does is when you make a lot of money, HMRC will say, "Thank you very much. We'll keep a little extra just in case that next year doesn't turn out to be quite good for you, and we'll pay back the difference of whatever it is." Right? Now, not with interest, of course, because, right? But that's sort of the stuff they do. You will actually overpay your tax every year. If you're a consistently profitable trader compared to your last year, you will always overpay tax every year. Basically, they're stealing your compounding effect to a certain degree. Yes, yes. I mean, I'm not saying that's scammy. Of course, it's very fucking scammy, but that's what that's what you do, right? It is what it is. You got to do what you got to do, It's like this started when, let's say, this started as a good thing, honestly. This started when, let's say, people, had, good income, right? And they were made redundant for whatever reason, or they lost their job, right? So what they will do in the next year, and then, next year, they have no income of any kind. What will happen is the overtax that they paid on the previous year will be paid back to them on the next year. Let's say this is year one and this is year two. So they will have some level of buffer for them to, whatever they need to do, right? That's how it started, and it's a good thing. But as soon as you start, looking into it from a long-term perspective, or anything outside of PAYE stuff, it is very scummy. PAYE is salary. So there's multiple types of incomes. There's obviously the PAYE, which is you don't even see the tax; it just goes automatically. And then you got the SA, which is a self-assessment, which is your which is something you got to do for capital gains, CGT tax, or your income tax, which is different from your PAYE tax, which is your different type of tax. Income tax is still capped at 45%. Capital gains tax is 20%. But the thing with doing self-assessment or doing your own assessment for tax stuff, when I say my own, I don't mean myself. I do it myself. I have a place where I do it, a company how I do it. They do my tax, obviously. But it's not done by the government. PAYE is done by the government. PAYE is done by your employer, right? Since I don't technically have an employer, right? Who's my employer? There's no employer, right? I gotta do this either myself, or I gotta hire someone to do it for me, right? Yeah. So the PAYE is done by the employer. But the thing with this is you can decrease your income tax and increase your capital gains tax. Right? So there are ways to do that. I'm not going to go into how to do that, but there are ways to do that. It is legal to do that. And it is, that's why even, you know, people who are, you know, politicians or prime ministers, they pay, they actually ask, like a good example is what I guess, what Elon does, right? Elon doesn't necessarily have an income. Okay. What he has is he has shares. He gets paid in shares, or he gets majority of his earnings in shares, right? So what you do is you use those shares, go to a bank and say, you know, look, I have XXY amount of this. Make me liquid. Give me assets. Give me money. Not assets. Sorry. I have XYZ amount of assets, should I say? You know, make me liquid, right? Give me money, blah, 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 right? And they'll say, okay, whatever your asset is worth. And then you borrow against that. You do a long-term borrowing, so your interest is very low. This is where you obviously, you know, you look around, like which bank is the best, right? And generally, it's just private banks that generally tend to be the best. They provide the lowest interest. And you live off this rather than, you know, whatever you need to do. And when you get, you know, money coming in every month, right, because of CGT, capital gains tax, right? You got a capital gains tax, which is 20%. So you only pay 20% on that. And if your earnings is more than, let's say, 10% per year, your yield, and if you borrow against that and your borrowing is like, let's say, 8%, you literally have a difference of 2% where you literally just printed. And you don't need to pay a 45 or a 55 capital gain, sorry, income tax. All you pay is the 20%. That's why people don't really talk about increasing capital gains tax. And generally, when they do talk about that, people get the fuck out. But they keep talking about income tax increases, and, you know, like in the UK specifically, they talk about the fuck, what's the god, brain fart. What's the little tax, the government tax? God, what's it called? Fuck, let me find my card. National insurance. I had to find my national insurance card to say it. But yeah, so national insurance tax, right? But yeah, the wealth tax stuff is not gonna work. It doesn't work. It's not a thing. If you want to tax the wealthy, you want to be able to tax land. That is the only type of tax that would actually work. And you tax at the point of sale. You don't want them to hold land because you have a yearly tax, and you tax them at the point of sale. That is the only way it would work. But then again, you can transfer between A and B for X amount of money while they give you some funds that can't be tracked. So there's no way to tax wealth, really. Just think about it, right? Let's say I have a house. Let's say I have a property, you know, worth 10 mil, right? Now, what will happen next year, let's say, is there will be a 1% tax every year on this that I have to pay every year, right? Sort of like a land tax, if you will. 1% is very low. I think it's like 2-3% is generally the range. I think it's like 2.5 in the US in certain places. But, you know, just to make math easy, I'm just doing 1%, right? Now, what is stopping me from selling these said assets to a person for 1 million in paper. Right? I don't even need to leave the UK. Right? I'll just say it's worth 10 million, but you know what? He's a good mate of mine. I'm giving him some free shit. Hey, why not? I'll sell it to you for 1 million. Sell it for 1 million. But what your friend does is he buys Bitcoin or some other coin, puts it in a memory stick, right? A cold wallet, and drives up to his mate's place and hands it to him in his hand. In paper, you need to pay tax for 1 million. But in practicality, you have assets worth 10 million. Or 20 million. Let's say you sold it, your assets worth 10 million, but you sold it to him for 20 million. So he gave you 20 million in other assets. That's not trackable. Now, to do it with stocks, you don't even need to do it this way with stocks. Because with stocks, banks exist. Right? With stocks, banks exist. So what you do is just say, okay, I have 10 million worth of stocks. Right? So you provide you need to provide the certificate of holdings, and you just provide the certificate of your of the stocks that you have. You go to a bank and you go, Mr. Potato Head, I have 10 million stocks. I need to borrow 1 million. Right? Mr. Potato Head will obviously they'll check everything, all the paperwork, everything. They go, okay, yeah, everything looks good, right? Oh, here's your 1 million. You pay XYZ interest. Let's say 10% interest, right? But on this stock, let's say you're yielding more than 10%. Let's say your capital gains is more than that. Let's say your capital gains is you're making around 15% a year on these stocks, right? Over time. In a year, by the way, right? Now, since you're paying capital gains on it because it's right, it's holdings, you're paying capital gains, you're not paying income tax, right? You pay 20% tax, right? And let's say even with the difference, you literally printed anywhere between 2 to 3% that you just made money just out of thin air. On the track to crypto? No, some most